Kids imagines when they walk in, they must your husband. Jeongin. Apartment was blissfully empty. Jeongin has texted hours ago saying he'll be laying at the studio, buried in production work. One had the whole evening. Right hand was gripping the cushion and against her own face and pressure building her head of the was desperate and the other thing was yes, you can. He read the couch and stood over her, looking down. You were so lost and you are lucky I came home early. He said, now sit up. We are going to. I'm not going. Han. The living room was bathed in the soft glow of fireplace. Han had built himself a good modern gas fireplace that flickered with blue and orange light. It was their favorite spot. The fire crackled softly, casting dancing shadow across her skin, and Han, a lovely glass of champagne, sat on the coffee table beside her. Should have been watching a movie. You're home early. The recording ended early. He said his voice was low, rough. He shrugged off his coat and letting it fall to the floor. His eyes never left her. Seungmin. The library was behind it. It was a cozy room filled with floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, a rolling ladder, and an upholstered reading book nook and by the window. Mind was elsewhere, consumed by the thought of Seungmin, his quiet intensity, and when he looked at her and she set the book down aside and let her hand. Studio, I thought you'd be there all night. Stop by to get my notes. Thought you'd be gone for hours. I was just. Attention. The walk-in closet was Van's favorite hideaway place, and it was massive, bigger than most city apartments. With floor-to-ceiling shelves filled with the designer clothes, shoes, and accessories. She was supposed to be picked out an outfit for dinner, but her mind kept wandering. Bangchan was in the living room taking a work This deed was that through the walls and he could see her. He did being holding and walk over to the pleasure ottoman in the center of the closet and her one. She didn't hear the door open and she didn't notice the shift in the light or the soft fall in the plush carpet. The first indication she had that she is no longer alone. He was still dressed in his work clothes. His hair was slightly mussed and his face was a mask of pure shock, and but the shock didn't last long. "Bangchan, I didn't hear you come in. I thought you were still on the call. The call ended," he said. His voice was broken. "I was coming to tell you that I was finished the call and I didn't expect to find." I stopped in front of her, toppling over her. "I didn't say this." Leeknow. Gym was one's favorite place to clean her head, and she had the house of the herself, and she intended to use the time wisely. She was on the yoga mat, having just finished up, and noticed the gym of the front door unlocking. The sign she heard that she was no longer alone was the sound of a low, amused hum. Her eyes flew up into the mirror, and her heart nearly stopped. Lena was. "No, I didn't hear you come in, and I thought you would be at the studio for hours. Rehearsals ended early," he replied, his eyes never leaving her reflection. He stood directly behind. Changbin. The study was one's favorite room in the apartment. The leather couch sat against the far wall. Changbin was at the recording studio working on his mixtape, and she was wearing one of his oversized hoodie beneath it. It was embedded. When she heard the study door swing open, her eyes flew open and her heart nearly stopped. Changbin stood in the doorway, his hair dark brushed and his eyes were fixed. "Studio, I thought you would be there for hours. Finished early," he said, his voice nothing. She lied, her cheeks were glowing. Felix. The home office was one's private domain. She spent hours there working on freelance projects, but tonight the work was done and she was simply enjoying the quiet. Felix was supposed to heard of him, all polished and powerful, and the familiar of the sight and closed her eyes and he was completely. She didn't hear the front door open. She didn't hear Felix to those footsteps in the hallway or the soft click of the office door being pushed open. It was only when she heard a sharp intake of breath that her eyes snapped open. Felix was standing in the doorway, once frost and her heart humming against her ribs. "Felix, I was distracted," she stammered. "I can see that," he said. hyunjin. The closet was fine. Favors gave a large couch sat in the center. It was late evening and Hyunjin was at the gallery opening, showcasing in the latest art. Hyunjin invited her to soft click and the bedroom door opening. Her eyes flew to the mirror. Her heart stopped and Hyunjin was standing in the doorway of the closet. His tall frame was changed. His eyes was fixed on her. Hyunjin, I thought you were at the gallery until midnight. The show was ended early and he replied, stepping into the closet. I was worried about you. You said you had a headache. Better now she stands raging just clearly. He murmured, his eyes drooping to the and his hair from her hair and it was surprising. Look at you, he breathed, his gaze hanging over her. Sitting here in my closet, surrounded by my things, and I was just lonely. Lonely, he repeated a soft, dangerous laugh, scraping his lips, and you decided to take my From now on, you come find me, you call me, you text me. I don't care if I'm in the middle of a gallery opening or a meeting. You come first, understood? I'm nodding. Thanks for watching. Hope you liked it. Subscribe for more.